everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble the Home Sweet Home Kit. It's a home decor piece that's available during the month of January and February while supplies last. And it comes with all the supplies you need to make this wall hanging that has different discs that go inside the letter O. Okay, so you have 4 different backgrounds to choose from. There's one that's kind of a wood grain, and then burlap looking, and then either black and white or gray polka dots. So I'm going to do the black and white dots, and I'm just going to follow all the instructions that come in the kit. And make sure that you have a container of liquid glass. I'm also going to use some double-sided tape. This is score tape, and it's a 1/4 inch. And I'm using a combination of a whole bunch of score tape and liquid glass because this is going to be hanging on the wall, and I want it to stay assembled for a very long time. So this is pretty durable and sticky adhesive. So just put your adhesive down on the back of your background paper, and then there's guides there's little notches drawn on this board, on the background board, that shows you exactly where to place it. So you place that down, and then you have your frame pieces. So these edge pieces you glue down with liquid glass, and be generous with the liquid glass, and you just place each piece down. It's kind of like putting a little puzzle together. I'm going to speed up the video just because you have to hold it there for about 60 seconds for each piece. And there is a little bit of warping in the wood and the base. And so it basically takes care of itself though once you get the glue put together. And then you'll see later on I'm going to place some blocks on the corners just to make sure that everything adheres. But once you get it all adhered together, it kind of straightens itself out. So it all works. It all fits together nicely. So you just have to be patient while you're waiting for your glue to dry. And hold things in place. It does help to have some of those heavy acrylic blocks to place on your corners just to make sure that the glue actually adheres everywhere. So I'm going to get that down, and I'll place another block on the corner to keep it from bowing up. And once it adheres, it'll flatten out. Now I'm going to pop out all of these overlays for each of the edges of the frame, and it's double-sided. It's got this black design on one side, and then the other side is a wood grain design. So for my frame, I'm going to choose the black. So I'm laying down some double-sided score tape, and then I'm going to add a couple drops of liquid glass along the edges because the score tape is flat and it doesn't meet that diagonal exactly, and I want those diagonal corners to adhere. So I'm using the combination. So I'll place that down and add some liquid glass, and then add that next piece down. It really comes together nicely. They fit exactly. And it's a nice heavyweight cardstock. So it attaches to this this lightweight wood nicely. I'm just going to place that down, and then the next one. And now everything's all flattened out. Okay, so I'm going to take my bone folder and just smooth out each of these sides. Okay, so now let's work on the home sentiment that goes in the center. So I'm going to pop out this piece, and then I'm going to save that black circle because I might decide to use it for something else in the future. So that's being attached the same way. Okay, this piece I've put double-sided tape and liquid glass on it, just like all the other pieces, and then I'm going to lay it over the wood home shape, and it fits perfectly. Be patient and just go from one side and just work it on there so that everything meets up exactly, and it all lays down nicely. And then I just took my bone folder to smooth everything out and make sure that everything connected. Okay, so then the next step is to adhere this piece to the frame piece, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to use a combination of score tape, double-sided tape, and liquid glass, and then I'm going to place it down on the frame. And the dots in this pattern made it really easy to make sure that I placed it down there correctly. So if you're one that tends to place things a little wonky and crooked, I would advise you to go ahead and choose this background because it helps a lot. It makes it easy. So I have a little bit of liquid glass that was on that M, and so the rub and remove eraser takes that off. So I'm going to place some blocks down on this so it can set up, and then I'm just going to set it aside while I work on something else. Okay, so these are the discs, and you get 14 of them, and then with the home sentiment, you get another one. So you get a total of 15, and you get 15 of these magnets, and you need to make sure that the polarity is correct so that they stick to each other rather than repelling each other. So you glue your magnet to your disc, and then you make sure that another magnet sticks to it, and then you put some more glue on top of it, and then you place it down in the center. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and while that is setting up, I'm going to start popping out some of these decorative pieces. Okay, so each of these discs has a marking in the center of it where your magnet is supposed to go. Okay, and we'll address the attaching the magnets in a bit. Right now I'm just pulling all the pieces for the snowflake one. It's the one in the top left corner. I'm going to make that one. So I'm popping out, and each of these pieces that have all the decorative pop outs on them, they're labeled. So this one says snowflake, so I'm popping out all the pieces that correspond to that one and going through everything to see which other one I'll need, and it's this one here. So okay, so I'm going to pop out those snowflakes, and it helps if you have a piercing tool, or this is an embossing tool. It just helps to pop out all those little bits quicker. So I got snowflakes all popped out. Okay, so I'm going to attach the piece of glitter paper to the disc exactly the same way I've been doing everything, is with the score tape first, and then I'll take some liquid glass and put a fine bead around the edges. So with some of the other discs, I'll be skipping ahead, but I just wanted to show the complete step for one of them. So just adding a fine bead around the edges and then placing it down on the wood disc. Okay, and I'll smooth it out with my bone folder. Okay, so these rosettes, if you haven't made one of these, they're already scored, and so you just fold it back and forth accordion style for each of these pieces. You just fold back and forth, and then you just kind of lay one on top of the other and match them up. I'm attaching them with the double-sided score tape. So you have one giant long zigzag accordion piece. And then you make a circle. So you pull it around and then you put another piece of score tape down. And then you attach it to itself. So you have a circle. Okay. All right. So eventually you're going to be gathering it up. I like to gather it up first and kind of get that fold in there and that shape to start remembering the shape there. And then you put a giant blob of liquid glass in the center of this white circle. So then you go ahead and accordion fold everything up and then fold it out. And you do have to fiddle with it and fight with it a bit, but then you just pick it up and make sure the center of it is in that giant blob of liquid glass. So you hang on to it as long as you can until it starts setting up, and then you can put a block on it to let it set up. So while it was setting, you can see around the edges here, I popped out a whole bunch of other little bits to make some more discs while I was waiting for it to dry. Okay, so let's go ahead and layer the snowflake one together. So I'm going to attach the rosette snowflake to the glitter paper, and it's going to be a combination of the score tape. Sometimes you have to rub it a bit with your fingernail to get that release paper to come off, and then some liquid glass. I think the combination of the two adhesives works well, so I'm going with it. Then I'm just going to layer my snowflakes on top, and I'm just following the examples that are in the picture in the instruction leaflet that comes with the kit. You can definitely make it your own. It's totally up to you. For this one, it's the one that I kind of did a little something that was my own thing that was a little different from the designs, is to add a pearl in the center. I thought that it needed a little extra something, but all the rest I just followed the designs that come with the instructions. So these pearls are retired. They're super old. Gosh, I think they're from 2012. So I'm adding a giant pearl in the center using some liquid glass. They have adhesive on them, but I added liquid glass as well. Okay, so that's that disc that I had put a magnet on, and so that's all dry. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking all of these magnets and I'm putting them on that center magnet to find the polarity. So when it sticks, then I'm going to put a dot on it. So then I know which side to attach to the back of the disc, the wood disc. So I'm taking the dot that I put on there and I'm putting it down towards the X that's marked on the back of that wood disc. And then I'll let those glue and set up. And now I know that it's situated with the right polarity so that it will stick to the magnet that is in the home design on the board. Okay, so I'm going to go and do that for all of the wood discs. So they're all ready to go. And while they're setting up and gluing, I'm going to start making some of my little designs to go on the disc. So this first one is the heart. And again, I'm just looking at the design that's on the instruction sheet and assembling. You can use foam tape if you want to pop things. You can go direct with adhesive, tape runner, double-sided tape, or liquid glass like I'm using for this one. I recommend liquid glass as long as you're not in a situation where it's going to seep out, because it is shiny when it dries. So, but liquid glass is really durable for home decor pieces, and so when they're in a spot where the sun might hit or just the elements in the room, it tends to last a lot longer than regular adhesive. If you have something hanging on the wall, and this one certainly will be, I already have a place picked out for it. So, okay, so that's going down with some foam tape, and then I'm going to put the next layer down with some liquid glass. And then the next layer, I was super careful and used dots of liquid glass because liquid glass will stick. It's one of the best things that will stick to the glitter paper. And since the glitter is shiny and glittery, even if some seeped out, it was okay. All right, so that's pretty simple. So this is how it works. It just attaches, the magnets attach to each other, and here's the finished example of that particular disc. Okay, let's make another one. So like I said, I'm going to show you the steps involved with some of the more complicated ones. A lot of the discs are just basic glue together like that heart one was, but I'm going to go ahead and show you some of these that have a little more texture to them. And this is what I did. You really have, there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to see an example, this is how I decided to put mine together. So I put the white piece directly to the wood, and then this scallop circle. I put that down. Now I'm just going to lay everything out before I start gluing stuff down. And I use liquid glass to glue everything. I'll skip ahead after I show you. I just kind of figured out the placement and how I wanted things to go down there. And so now I'm just kind of layering everything with the liquid glass. Now I'm just putting the adhesive on that circle piece so that I can tuck some of those glittered branches underneath some of the other leaves. Okay, so this is the assembly of the bow. You just take the outer pieces of the bow and loop them in towards the center, and then attach them with a dollop of liquid glass. You could use a tiny foam dot if you want to, if you're able to hide it. I just grabbed the liquid glass. So, of course, I'm not patient. You have to hold it for a while, and I'm blowing on it and trying to get it to stick. And then that center piece, you just loop it around. And I decided to go ahead and glue it from the front, and then I'll glue it from the back as well. And then you attach it to the pieces, the ribbon piece that's at the bottom. And then I just used my tweezers that stay, I forget what these are called, but I just clipped them so that they would be stuck together. I'd have something holding it while the glue set up. And then while that's doing that, I can start tucking in some of these glitter pieces or berries and little branches. Tuck things around and kind of manipulate the leaves that are already there, the green ones, and kind of give it a little more texture, and just placing everything around the wreath, making it more full. Fluffing it up a little bit, and then I'll add the bow. And here's what it looks like in the home piece. Okay, next one I'm going to do is this spring floral piece. So I've got my the disc. It's kind of a wood grain. It's kind of hard to see in the video. Real subtle. I put that circle down first. Now I'm taking, this is a piercing pad, and it's an old retired item, but if you've got something that's kind got some padding to it. I'm putting that down, and then I'm taking the blunt end of my bone folder and I'm just going around in circles to kind of give the flower a little dimension, and then I'm manipulating the petals. So the pattern is printed on both sides, so it's okay if you can see underneath it, because it's the same pattern on the other side. And then I'm just taking my bone folder and kind of folding those petals around to give it a little texture, and then I'll start layering them together. So I'm going to use thin foam tape to layer each piece together, and then I'll use thin foam tape to attach the flower to the disc. And slightly off center so that I can layer a whole bunch of the leaves and other flowers around it. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other layers of this flower. Just go around in circles, and it kind of makes it kind of cups, and then you can take the petals and bend them outward. And I'm going to glue those together with some liquid glass, and I'm staggering the petals again. And then I'll put those down with a piece of thin foam tape. And then more pieces of the flower. This turns out really pretty, I think. And I do the same thing. And then attach those with liquid glass. And then there's a yellow bit that goes in the center of the flower. It's so pretty. I think this one's my favorite disc out of all of them. So then you just take all the different floral bits and arrange them around your flower. And I decided to give some more texture to these as well. So I'm using my piercing pad to go ahead and put a bend in the center of those petals so I can give them a little bit more texture. There's a lot of things you can do with this. If you wanted to add some liquid glass to paint on them to make the leaves shiny, you could do that. I just decided to go ahead and leave them matte, but I did give them some bend, and then I'm going to do the same thing with these other leaves. The cardstock that these are printed on, it's a nice thick heavyweight cardstock, so you can pretty easily manipulate them, and the bend, whatever fold and bend you put into these shapes, will stay put. And so you just arrange them around your flower however you like. And I'm just putting liquid glass just on the bottom portion of each of the stems so that they can kind of come out and have a little texture and look a little bit more lifelike in the little arrangement. And I'm just going to add some flowers, and I thought that was enough. So that's what it looks like when it's in the framed piece. That's so pretty. Okay, this one's really simple. It's the Halloween one. So I'm just going to attach that yellow disc to the wood disc. And then each of these pieces I'm just going to attach with liquid glass. It's all pretty flat. There's not a ton of texture to this. Some other things you could do is to add some liquid glass to each of those windows to make them shiny, if you wanted to do that. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things you could do, but I decided to keep it simple. Okay, next one is kind of the Thanksgiving fall disc, and this is a sunflower. That disc that I've already adhered to the wood, it's kind of a burlap looking fabric piece. It's paper, of course, but it looks like fabric. So I'm just doing the same thing with the flowers to kind of give them a little more texture, to get them to bend up and give them, I don't know, make them look a little more lifelike. So I'm going to attach these with thin foam tape. And again, it's a little bit off center so that I can arrange all the leaves and foliage around this one. So placing the two flowers so that they're a little staggered. And we'll just fuss with it a bit more to bend those petals up, and then that center portion I'll glue down with liquid glass, and then each of the pieces, the leaves and such, I'll add with liquid glass as well and kind of arrange them around the sunflower. I'll give the green leaves, I'm going to add a little bend to them to give them a little more texture. And then I'm just adding some liquid glass at the base of the leaves and tucking them underneath. Get that all arranged. Okay. All right. And then here's what it looks like in the frame. That's a pretty one. I like that one too. Okay, this pumpkin comes together super easy, so I'm going to skip ahead. It's just basic gluing everything together, so that's what it looks like. And then I did some other ones. This is the umbrella and the fireworks and the cupcake. Okay, so this is basically what it looks like when you're switching your discs out. If you slide it rather than pull it out, it makes it easier for your magnet to release. So slide it out. And then you can just interchange everything. So here's that snowflake from the very first one that I did. So I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.